Hello, and welcome back to another episode of International Immersion, a podcast that seeks to capture the combined experiences of people, places, culture, traveling, current events, living abroad, and much, much more. For tonight's episode, I have a very unique opportunity where I've actually been able to reconnect with one of my colleagues from graduate school back in China, who has gone on to start an organization back in India. And we have the honor this evening of talking with him and everyone involved about their organization, what they're doing, and a lot of other factors as well. So everyone, it's great to have you here this evening. I've been following your social media and videos on YouTube and what you guys have been recording in India and other things. So I'm really happy to have you all aboard and to kind of discuss what all you're doing and long-term goals and everything else that comes along with it. So again, thank you for joining tonight, and I hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. We are doing very well.
Very good. So to begin with, I think to start with, perhaps everyone can give like a little bit of an introduction about ICANGOVERN for our audience.
So ICANGOVERN is an organization that doesn't think of any background or any special requirement for people to join. It just gives a platform to the people to do whatever they will and just kind of support so that they can like move ahead and start with their initiative and start with their social work.
I see. So more of a non-biased, across the board, open platform for people to not be restricted by any circumstance.
Any boundaries.
That's wonderful. I definitely would agree. I think the world needs a lot more of that in this day and age. So to begin with, I would say it's for everyone, what motivated you all to start this organization? What would you say was the motivating factor or factors?
Yeah, Sean. So first of all, I will thank you for having us here in your program, and I will explain what ICANGOVERN mean, that Indian Citizen Alliance for Governance. So it's today it's Indian, it can be international someday, it can be I. So what we say in ICANGOVERN is that I is inclusive of everyone, everything, and I can be anything. So if you will talk about what ICANGOVERN is, and if you will see my perspective of what ICANGOVERN is, so we see that in our daily lives or in day-to-day lives, we are doing for ourselves only. That my car, my house, my things. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to that's self-aspiration, and that's very important for an individual and its growth. But to what extent? That is a question. So if you are taking something from society, it's your duty as well as it should be your aspiration to give it back. So what ICANGOVERN does, that we inclusive of every caste, creed, gender, we don't discriminate over these things. We just ask, what can you do? We don't ask who are you, what's your background, you are rich, you are poor, you are black, you are white, what you can be anything, but what you can give. And they're like-minded people who want to do really something in their life to society with that devotion which requires, and making ourselves more energetic and more motivated every day. So we want to work in this pandemic time, in second wave. Dr. Tilak, Kunal are there. We were all trying to help much to the people and how we can benefit them. So the thing is, if people will be more aware that what their rights are and what they can achieve, what they can do, what they can get in life, then it will be more sorted and simple. So we come here. Our role is to play a game here to elaborate things, to make them convinced that yes, they can do it themselves, rather than depending upon the system or government or any official things to do something. Why can't we do something? So we can not ever be dependent on things, situations, people to do something for us, rather than to start doing something ourselves. So there ICANGOVERN came, and the question I think was what inspired us. So every little things inspired us to do so, and I think Dr. Tilak will answer it rather more effectively, because he was the founding member, founding father, we can say, of this I Can Govern. So I think it is a sapling at this moment. We saw a seed, it's sapling, it will grow to a tree someday. And like when it was started, we didn't expect that we will come here, we will join Sean in this show, but it's going on. So it's like it's a journey where people come, people join, and it makes uh, whole journey beautiful. But what our goal is, what our motivation is, what how we started it was like the things I have explained earlier, to enable ourselves, to enable the society to think about themselves.
No, very well said. And I think you speak to a very noble and fulfilling, precedent in that, society, should be motivated and realize its full potential, not just relying on the state or, what's offered to them. I mean, of course, when in need, you should do that. But at the same time, as they say, like in one of my favorite terms, carpe diem, seize the day, take the initiative, be ambitious, and try to make something of yourself with your life, because we only have one life to live, and every day is precious.
Indeed, right.
My name is Amarendra Narayan Bharat. I joined this team of enthusiasts a couple of months ago. As I see, we are a team of people for whom the seed of transformation is at I, as Jayant was pointing. Like commonly here, I hear people saying government should be like this, journalists should be like this, the judiciary should be like this, police should be doing this, the municipality should be doing this. Here, we are different in the sense that the seed of transformation is not there. It's not the government, it's not the journalist, it's not the municipality, it's I. What can I do? What can such people who are willing to be the transformation? Mahatma Gandhi used to say that if you want to change, first bring that inside you. So Tilak and here this team has been seeding small things, like things that pertain to the local issues. How can agriculture be beneficial, economically beneficial? How can we build a library setup which students can use? Things that are at the very local level and often get ignored when people sitting in air-conditioned rooms are making policies. They're not really connected with the real ground situation. And even if they are, probably it's been decades when they actually felt the pinch of the problem. And here we are trying in our own ways to do what we can do.
What you speak of, I think that's across the globe. Anytime people move up in politics, government, organizations, they get further and further away from kind of the grassroots where they've come from, and in a way you can see it, they lose touch because their lifestyle changes, their interactions change, and hence they're not, I would say, as good as they were before in addressing what's going on at the ground level, as you guys are all basically insinuating.
I think it's also an opportunity. This is Aryadev. I think it's an opportunity to channelize your energies as well. Uh, we discuss about politics, the reforms that the government should have made. As Amrenji said, it's what we can do is what matters here. How can we support people that reach us for ameliorating any social issue for that matter is what matters. What can be done at the ground level? What can be done at a policy level if we have to reach a particular local government official? What will be the channel to reach him and get the issue sorted is what we are trying to do here, and also discuss and raise awareness about the local issues. As you have been seeing our videos and our discussions that we have with the local experts, in their domains. So that's what we have been trying to do for now.
No, and I definitely notice a lot of similarities with a lot of the same initiatives with people having here in the U.S. trying to connect, different levels of government, societies, cities, trying to address issues, solve societal problems, and of course, as you can see on the U.S. news, a lot of the issues that the U.S. has been dealing with in the last few years, a lot of these things are being discussed very heavily in a lot of different social circles and organizations, so on and so forth.
Hello, Sean. Actually, if you define the working criteria of the ICANGOVERN as a local issue, we are picking up from the individual. As such, a one person collectively make a family make a society, a collective society make a city, and a collective city make a country, and likewise the group. So we are picking up the ground level or root level problems, and that's why we have a working criteria. In the individual, we are working on the ground. We are facing that in the life of a person. There are varieties of problems. Like you are watching here, we have humidity, day by day global warming rise. Apart from that, we have some other kind of problem like people here at the local level. The groundwater is day by day deforming and lots of things. So what we are doing, we are going to the local level at the individual one, so that collectively we are picking up all kinds of problems.
I think you can continue, Sean. You were saying something. I was just asking Sundaramji to sort of jump in.
Oh no, I was simply saying very well said, and kind of going to that core point of trying to really affect on the ground, and that's where the root of anything, just like building blocks, anything you have to start with a foundation. You start with a person, a family, a house, a village, so on and so forth, and up the ladder.
Okay, so hi Sean, this is Sundaram. So for me, ICANGOVERN, I can say, everyone has given the definition. For me, it's the first day when I joined and I have discussed with Tilak, right? He said, see, I don't know what we are going to do it. If you wanted to contribute something in education, you can go jump into the education and don't worry about the result, right? What happened? At least we can contribute them. We can create awareness. We can create, enable them. Wherever, we are living in a country, especially in India, right? There are lots of challenges there. So, if our 1%, right, if we contribute something and, we'll get some result, that would be our success, right? That would be our motivation. So the best part, the beauty in ICANGOVERN is, we are living across the boundary, right? There is no, boundary setup that, okay, we are living in this corner only, then you can anywhere you are there, right? We can contribute. We are living in a digital transformation. So we can contribute by, we can make get together by virtually, and we can contribute something. So in any field or any problem comes, if we are there, we can contribute something. So that would be, for our success. And there is no boundary as such, like I said, there is no boundary as such in ICANGOVERN. What I can contribute. So we what is our philosophy or what motivates me, I can say especially, every day we can reinvent ourselves. So whatever the point comes, we have to jump into the unknown. We don't know the result, right? What happened, but we are ready to jump into the unknown, and we fly solo. So fly solo means, yes, I am there and what I can contribute. This is what, motivates us. So this is, my thought process would be.
Very well said. And, I think it kind of goes to the fact that at times we need to be reliant on ourselves and our own ambition and drive, but at the same time, we need to work with those around us who have a similar vision and, goals, and one of my personal favorite quotes is, fortune favors the bold, as so, directly stated by Alexander the Great.
I think, Sean, you are fond of Alexander, right? The Roman Empire.
Being a historian, I have somewhat of a background with a lot of the different people from the past, but I find you can learn a lot from them. And as the old adage goes, those who do not learn their history are doomed to repeat it.
Somebody who used to govern the whole system. But thing is that if there is any lacuna, who is there to raise the word? Who is there to raise the issue of common civilians? So that through the ICANGOVERN staying at different nook and corner of our society, we are raising the voice. We are making the words, we are bringing the attention of governing body in India that they must perform the effort. There are many tasks where we had performed well. Even for the COVID-19 situations, our many colleagues had done the works very marvelous. They have contributed, they have done the works in a very different way and style. So what I mean to say that things are there, everything is settled, but somebody should be there to look after. Somebody should be there to contribute something out of box. Somebody must be there to do something very differently. Member of this team, and we have been contributing directly. We have been motivating the people to come to. That is very needful for the society in a very different way. So these are our style that we have been doing the works.
Well, Dr. Talak, if you wanted to wrap up this first question.
Well, so I think, okay, so what I think about these questions, or for that matter in general, these fundamental issues, is that, I think if you remember the way we connected, this fundamental human urge to connect, it doesn't originate essentially always from some purpose or goal as we understand. It's about small things. I think you studied international relations, I studied public administration. And the reason how we sort of got in touch with each other finally, after almost 5 years, was that one small story that you told, that he used to be a grass cutter, and that sort of brought us to one platform, isn't it? And sort of getting in touch. So I think this is true for all of us. This fundamental human tendency to connect, it doesn't come essentially from the big things and the stupid things at times, unfortunately, that we have surrounded ourselves with. It comes from such a small things, taking care of each other, listening to each other, lending a hand to each other. Small things, various small things, children's things actually. You play with somebody, you will become a far better friend than listening to 100 lectures maybe. It just happens. So I think a year and a half after this journey has started, I still believe that I Can Govern is a journey. It's not a destination. It will remain a journey as such. And that is how it should be, because I think our fundamental job is, and our fundamental concern is, to sort of connect and create something which leads to human well-being. And that is what I can govern essentially at the most fundamental level. I believe it is, and it should be. And to create something, I think what we create the best things when we actually coordinate and cooperate. And that's true for anything, you name it. The biggest of scientific inventions, the best times in our politics, the most memorable moments in our history. There were times, and for that matter, forget those big moments in our life. You just see when everybody in the family is working together, it's great, isn't it? So I think that is where I believe we also realize that we need to connect. That is far more important than giving people goals that this is governance and all these things. I don't think governance is building roads, or for that matter, putting in sewage lines and all this. This is okay. This is just a process that will come along with when you are trying to work together. This is a fundamental human urge essentially to connect. And in a village, it could be different requirement. In a metro, it could be different requirement. Requirements can change. We focus currently on small towns, but I don't think that I Can Govern, this idea per se, is region specific or town specific or locality specific. This is essentially that you realize that, well, it's your responsibility as well to connect, coordinate, and create something.
No, I think you make a great point there. At the end of the day, it's when we cooperate, we can achieve almost anything. When we don't, it basically, it stalls, it peters out, things don't get done. And I think at the end of the day, most people just have a natural curiosity. That's why we travel. That's why we learn something. That's why we meet people. That's why we make friends. And I think the wider range of curiosity you have and willingness to adapt and learn, the more positive your life will be, the more people you can influence and can influence you. And in turn, as you've stated it's going to make the world a better place because, with globalization and everything, at the end of the day, we have a lot more in common than what we don't have in common. And I think that's one thing more people are becoming aware of. But at the same time, I think the biggest problem with on a human level is just ignorance. It's not the fact that they're biased. It's just the fact that a lot of people don't know about different places, people, traditions, etc. So I think that innate desire to connect, to learn about new things, that needs to be fostered and developed. And this is not just not just in India, the US, it's everywhere. And I think that's why, and that's another reason why I started this podcast. It's going on a year and a half for me as well. And I've connected with a lot of people, organizations like yours, individuals, authors, etc. And all of them bring an element that demonstrates, creativity and a willingness to connect people and to foster mutual learning and understanding.
Exactly. And I think I'll just tell one more thing. Among the people who are here, Aradev happens to be someone whom I know since my childhood. He was my classmate when I was in standard 4th, and after that he left, he went to another school. After a year, I left, I went to another school. We connected almost after 25 years. And what brought us together? Not because he was the topper guy in the class. Well, of course that he was, but what really connected us, he sent me a couple of letters, and I really saved those letters. They still are with me somewhere. And those, whenever I think those moments came back, those letters would somehow land up in my hand. Well, this guy kept coming back, and then you see, we are here. So I think this is what essentially creativity is. This is the real thing, I think. So yes, you're right. And I don't think, for that matter, people anywhere. We are all human beings, and being human is this, and this alone.
Oh, very well said, and each and every one of you brings a great element and perspective on your point of view on this and how you're contributing and what the goal or continuous goals are for I Can Govern. And that leads into the next point I think we can discuss. And as with anything, what all was required in creating it. Like I know with this podcast, a lot of research, preparation, reconnecting with people, creating content, the tech side, all those things go into a podcast like mine. And I'm sure a lot of those elements are also shared with I Can Govern. But it'd be great to hear each and every one of your perspective or maybe area of, how you guys approached it in putting it together.
For me, it was a very organic set of events that connected me to this group of people. I was going through a soup of situation where because of political bullying, I was not getting enough help and I was attacked. And here was this team that came up to talk about it, to ask me what help do you need? What can we do for you? Like I was just approached, and this was the first platform where I could actually speak out what had happened, which till then I was just speaking to my close friends, and that made a difference, and that's how we came together. So for me, what was involved was just communicating, heart-to-heart communication. It was not much of strategy. It was just like Tilakji was earlier saying, a child's instinct that brought each one of us closer.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear.
I would just like to add before others say something, is that Dr. Amren Narayan, he has an immensely reputed qualification. He's an IITian. After that, he went to the US for his PhD, came back to IIT Bombay for his postdoc, and then he had offers from all across the world. And then he chose to work in his hometown. I think that's a kind of a story which, sort of, it's really inspiring. And we are absolutely privileged to actually have him. I think that was the kind of privilege he showered upon us. And we got in touch. The first conversation we had was almost an hour long. And we really connected. Just took a moment, maybe.
Yeah, so actually, like I can, to starting the I Can Govern organization, I don't think any kind of preparation or any kind of support was needed. What was needed is the instinct and the will to do something, and to get people under that umbrella, so that in one umbrella where they can talk, they can put their thoughts, and also connect with each and every person with a different perspective. So only a will to start was needed, and to gather people who can like trust and who can understand and who can be a part of it. So I will say only people were needed to start this organization, who can just talk and who can believe us. That's all. Nothing else was not short of any preparation, but just it was instinctive, I would say.
I think that's, yeah, I would certainly agree. Sometimes it's without the right people or the right initiative and will, it's very hard to go forward. And I find that's one thing I've encountered in creating this podcast, is that it's, you can get a lot of guests, but if you want to, you need to find people who have a like mind. And if you can't find that, you can do it yourself. It's just more difficult. But, at the end of the day, your people you work with or that you're going to cooperate with, that can make or break it.
Okay, I think we can make it more interactive. You can sort of keep jumping in. That is fine. Otherwise, those who will watch video, they will also feel bored that there's so many pauses.
Yes, open board. So feel free to match to point A, point B, etc.
I think the will and faith of the people who sort of first decided to sort of start this initiative, that there are issues in a particular region of India, which is probably the most backward region of India. The Sustainable Development Goals Index that came out day before yesterday mentions that particular area, the state where most of the participants come from. I agree with Tilak's idea that the idea per se is a global idea, but the very fact that we are sort of pursuing the and facilitating the problems, and we are sort of trying to get rid of the problems in a particular area or in a particular state, says a lot about the fact that a lot of the people in this initiative are from that particular state, and it's their will and faith to do something for their region, to do something for their area, and that's how they have come together. That's how we have networked. I was, part in my professional life. I was fed up with just, empty words. We would do policy dialogues, but nothing was happening on the ground. Here we are trying to do something on the ground. So that's how I think I relate to this organization.
No, very, very well said. And it's like, let's stop beating around the bush. We want things done. We know what problems are. We see them. Let's address them directly, not just with, banter and, indirectly. Let's just tackle them as we see them.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, please, Sundramji.
Yeah, okay. So, Son, for what I feel, right? See, if we wanted to contribute something, so it would be collaborative, right? If we wanted to get a success, it would be a collaborative manner, right? So we have to use a synergy approach, only then we can get success. So we are coming from a such background, right? Where, if we really wanted to contribute something, we need a team, right? We, like I said, networking, right? If you have a proper network, only then we can contribute something. We'll get a right channel. So what connect me, this I Can Govern, one, we come from most of the, like they've said, we are coming from the same, location, but location is not the boundaries, right? And we have seen the challenges, what we face the challenges when, we were learning or something. So And nowadays, we are working somewhere, so we hardly get time to, do something. So by this, I can govern. I feel that, if we really wanted to contribute something, we really wanted to do some, it's just like a forward or backward propagation, right? We wanted to propagate something. So this team, this I can govern, will give the opportunity to do that in any manners, right? So we have a proper networking. Any things we need, we will do this part. So that I can say yes, that's the connect to us. And especially, if we are ready to change and challenges, then yes, we have to accept and we do that. So this is what I wanted to say. Over to you, Jayan.
And Chandan, I think you were saying.
Yeah, sure.
Then
Chandan, you want to speak, please? I will speak later.
actually, one fine day, Tilakji called me and tell me about the ICAN govern. And really, I want to share my experiences from the day first I started, and what we have called the. I very first asked what I have to do, and he tell you do not need you don't need to do anything. Just pick up some small issues. I have already picked up lots of issues in the society. Somehow picking it up very carefully. Somehow we leave it. And in that way, we connect through I Can Govern. Then how we have conducting a small meeting through our local channel here, where we are living. And people from different areas already connected with the I Can Govern. So at very first meeting, we done something, we have taken some points, and we do something. You won't believe, we did nothing at that very time. We just picking a small issues and people get connected by that. It's not from our side, but from the other regions also. So this is basically one of the ideas that if you talk about something, if you're connecting with the different kind of people, and if you are doing something, at least try something, that the people from the different criteria, or people from the different resources, they already connect. So my experience with the I Can Govern is only that we are connected here, share some ideas, share some few funny moments also. We have a casual talk, we have a formal talks, all kind of talks. And what we find, these small things, what we are doing a daily basis, collectively gives us more and more and cumulatively.
No, well said. And Jayant?
Yeah, sure. I will come. The first and foremost thing to start any organization or anything is to make up the mind, to show that dedication, that you can do that. And explaining it a little further, like everyone here has heard about the Newton's first law of motion, which says if something is in rest, it wants to be in rest, and something in motion, it wants to be in motion, if there is no external force applied to motivate or do something. So to break the inertia was the first thing. Like I will say that the human race likes comfort so much, so that we always find comfort in something or something. Not like, okay, so binge watching something, being on a couch, like, okay, I'm resting now, I have done my 8-hour shift, I have earned money, and I think everybody in their life has some goal, that I will retire at this age, do this, do that, I will earn that money, I will earn that property, I will do this. So it's all about ourselves, like I said earlier. And to start it was like, you can give it or not, you can be a part or not, you can keep yourself motivated or not. So the first thing and the foremost thing was to keep yourself motivated, and then find for the suitable match. I will tell you why I said suitable match, because it's in India, we search for the bride and grooms, and it was tough for the founders to find a suitable match. Okay, because the resonance is everything, which can make something constructive and destructive. If the resonance with the vibes will match, it will be furthermore giving. And if it will not match, then it will become destructive, and we will lost somewhere at some time. So we were discussing with Dr. Tilak about how it was incepted, how it came into existence, and he was explaining these things. So this was the thing which started this organization, like I said.
No, very good. I'm definitely noticing the trend. It's like it's having the idea and then just keeping the initiative and the momentum going, as you've laid a good law of physics there.
Right. So first they were selective, then we became assimilative. Assimilation, we worked like anybody can join us if they are willing to do something.
And I think that's good. By having that open mantle, you can bring in different people and perspectives, because everyone brings something to the table, regardless of what people will say. Everyone has their own point of view, perspective, and the more of those together, the better an organization can function, because it has more areas it can think about. It has a broader mindset, and there's more ideas that can be compared, created and amplified. Yeah, and that leads on to the last of my first initial questions for everyone is, you've gone into depth on how you created and more of the mindset behind it, but what would you say have been the biggest challenges you faced since the inception?
Well, I think I'd like to take it up. The most important challenge always is to sort of connect, and I think that Jayant raised the question, sort of connect with people who are willing to sort of take the initiative with the same similar at least frame of mind. So I think this has been our key challenge. Initially, I requested my friends to sort of be part of it, because those were the people who were closest to me. Some of them joined because they said that they thought possibly that how to decline Tilak, so let's join it. And after that, after some time, they sort of started not responding maybe at times. So I think this has been our key issue, key challenge as such. And this will remain, I believe, the key challenge. Unfortunately, by the way, I would say that this should not be like this. I believe that searching just for like-minded people and connecting just with them itself is fraught with what we essentially call governance or government or democracy and all these things. It's not about creating an exclusive approach. It's about creating an inclusive approach where there is space for everyone. So I think I keep telling this example that, every metal melts at a certain temperature. So if you can create that much energy, that much enthusiasm, we ideally should have a situation where everybody finds some reason to do something positive and cooperate to do such things. So ideally that should be our destination. But I think in a real world, this can be a very, very long journey. So I think we wanted a goal which will not be fulfilled in our lifetime. That is okay. So I think fair enough. We are okay with that. So I think that remains our biggest challenge. By the way, another thing is that people often have this idea that they want to do big things, and only when they will have this thing, then they will start doing that thing. This kind of thing. I think far more important is that whatever the smallest of things you can do, you do it. And I keep telling everybody that, well, if you share it on your social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on any social media platform that you are there, that's also, if you're doing it with a certain sense of purpose and doing it with a certain sense of coordination, well, the bots are doing it, political parties are doing it, all sorts of people are doing it to create all kinds of divisive agendas, to sort of promote those divisive agendas. Why we should not do it? And by the way, we should not do it by depending upon bots. We should not do it by depending upon social media armies. We should do it by being inspired of it. And that is how it should be. So I think the smallest of things, this is a very important thing that we all should realize, that the smallest of things, there's nothing as small, by the way. I think we had this session earlier that I think when you came on I Can Govern panel, it was a topic that, so essentially putting up those small bits, and when you put all those things together, it becomes a story, it becomes a big thing. So that is something that we also constantly sort of keep telling everyone, that don't think that you don't have this much, whatever you have, one step at a time. I think everybody, howsoever powerful you are, howsoever big you are, howsoever educated you are, all you can do, all anybody can do is take one step at a time. Nobody walks 2 steps at a time. We all take one step. That step may be little, that step may be a bit long, but that's it. So those smaller steps we should keep taking. And that remains, I think, bringing everyone along and this with this frame of mind is the biggest, I think, challenge and opportunity.
No, very well said, and I completely agree with you in that there are a lot of, but no, very good. Any other thoughts from anyone else?
Yeah, taking it a little further, what Dr. Tilak said, it's like the study on human race says, if we know someone individually, or we have communication with each other, a group of 150 people can exist, and they can work for the same purpose or same goal. However, if the group enlarges, it becomes 200, 250, 300, then there requires a motivation to work together. There requires the same goal, same aspirations, or something, so that we can work like an organization. How it works: 1 lakh employees, 10 of thousands of employees are working because they have same aspiration and goals, and it's been divided. So the biggest challenges here, which we see, that to take that group of people together working on a same thing with the same mind, and that's very important, like what Dr. Tilak said. I was explaining that. So it's the challenge, and the one more challenge is to keep myself motivated. Like, okay, I have to do that, because if I am not doing, then I cannot expect any other else to do something. So to give my 100%, that's real challenge.
No, I think that's a very important thing, is you can't rely on others to do something, or if you have to be willing to do it yourself, or as I say, if you want something done right, you need to do it yourself. So, but yeah, and you also bring up another point, is that staying motivated is not always easy. There are times in life and with work, family, etc., where it really can knock you down, and keeping that motivation is, difficult. And that's where maybe friends, colleagues, and other factors can help. But it's challenging.
I think Tilak and Jayant have talked about the ideological challenges. I would rather talk about the practical ones. I think identifying the right people to sort of advance the agenda that we had in mind, and bringing them into the fold, making them believe that we can do something special here, and there is something special here. In spite of not having the formal structures of an organization, we call ourselves an initiative. And, allocating the right job for them. And as you know, that all of us involved in the initiative have our day jobs, so to say. And we, have our events or our discussions only in the weekend. So I think that also has been a challenge, the balance sort of. A lot of people, have invested a lot of their time. The foremost being Tilak, because he has sort of driven it forward, throughout. And one of the most important challenges, the biggest challenge has been what has been the biggest challenge for the world itself. It has been COVID. We have not been able to meet people in person, and many of the activities that were envisaged to be carried out, they have not been possible. So I think we will get rid of these challenges very soon.
Yes,
I'd just like to add that this COVID, at least for ICANGOVERN thing, and has also been a sort of an opportunity, because if you go to my hometown and ask people that, well, shall we connect over phone, then they'll say, why don't you come? I think unless you don't come, we cannot talk, So they would not even pick up phone and talk properly, and now they are willing to come on video, sitting anywhere. And I think this has been a good change in mindset of the people.
That is definitely something. Yeah, I think people are more willing to connect virtually, but also I think it's really shown that a lot of people can work remotely. Like for a lot of people I know, their jobs before were like, nope, you can't work from home. Well, you have been, and you've been doing just fine. So I think that's a global dynamic that's changing. So I think, people will return to the office, but maybe not all 5 days of the week or how many days you're in the office. It may, but it depends on industry and what your profession is. But I mean, yeah, as with anything, I think you have to look at any situation. You have to find both the positive and the negatives. The negatives try to mediate and minimize the effects, and then focus more on the positives and what you can gain and develop from it. Any other thoughts in terms of the challenges you guys have faced?
Actually, every individual has facing personal and professional problems. So get into a frame and motivated him is a very tough task. So we have these kind of issues. By the time is right now also we will facing it in future also, but we are trying. Our motive is we are trying at least what we can do and what we can motivate to the other people.
And you said it, it's trying. It's like, just making the effort.
I think somebody said earlier that usually the biggest challenge is to keep yourself motivated rather than motivating anybody else. I think if you are motivated, others will definitely sort of have something going out from you rather than the other way around.
And I'm a firm believer that I think if you can identify a motivated person just by their character, their personality, just what they give off. I think a lot of people at least can sense that. And I know I can with certain people, and I think that in itself is a very powerful thing and very useful. Is people can sense that. But yeah, keeping yourself motivated at times, that's it's always something that can be challenging. So for going more to the discussion questions, what do you hope people will learn from what you're doing? I mean, we've kind of touched on this, but maybe everyone has more of a perspective. Like, you're focusing on the ground level. Maybe what are your, like, on a larger sense, what do you hope people can learn from your organization? And this could be, skills, aspects, maybe methods of approaching things, or, more than anything, just motivating people, as we've been touching upon again and again.
Well, I think the most important thing that possibly should come among the minds of not just people in regions where we are working with, even otherwise, is that we need a chain of leadership. It's not like you have one top great leader at the top and then things will happen. It doesn't work like that. Unless you do not create that chain, it is not going to happen. And so I think people need to sort of look up to others just like they will do everything. I think that's the conversation most people have, that Mr. Trump does this, Mr. Modi does this. I think that is not the point. We all know what we have an opinion about what Mr. Trump should do, what Mr. Biden should do, what Mr. Modi should do. What we don't know and what we should be knowing and focusing upon most is what we do and what we should be doing and how we should be doing that the best. That is real leadership. So I think that's a thought that has always been in my mind. And I think if everybody realizes that, we are done.
Yeah, don't rely on the top. It's everyone can rely on themselves. Of course, relying on each other, but don't just let the leaders or people who have the most or loudest voice. Don't let them just take precedent. I mean, they're in a position for a reason, but doesn't mean you don't have to do anything.
Exactly. Amrenji, you were saying something.
For me, earlier when I faced a challenge around me, or let me better say it, if I saw that somebody is in a problem or something in my locality bugs me, for instance, there was no oxygen cylinders available in my town. The entire town was looking for oxygen cylinders like you look for God. Earlier, I would have approached this problem as an individual, but because of this organization, I can approach this problem as an organization. Now I got to talk to Tilakji and people in the connection from whom we could take some baby steps and determine what is best that we can do for the town itself. That would not be possible if I was actually approaching it as an individual.
Well, I think Amrenji is being kind, by the way, but because he is himself a one-man army, he has been doing a lot of things in his town. So please, Amrenji, continue.
So this is, I think, our strength, and this is what we are able to contribute to our surroundings. That what one would have fought alone, now it becomes a common organized approach.
And I think that attests to an individual can accomplish a lot, but when you get more people involved, and it turns more into a communal or a group thing, it makes the possibilities go up exponentially. And that's with everything.
And I think talking of creating opportunities during this COVID era, we were able to get a lot of experts on board to discuss various local issues. And I think we have touched upon almost everything. I think awareness creation, the generation of awareness, has been the USP of this initiative. Awareness of issues in the most backward region, in one of the most backward regions of India, has been our greatest achievement, as I think Tilak would agree, that we have been able to get people on board to talk about those issues. Every fortnight, we get people to talk about health, about education, about disability rights, about having libraries for children, and about the flood situation. So we have been talking a lot about these issues. I think that's one area which I think is one thing that people can learn from this organization. That awareness generation is one thing that we have been doing. Because of COVID, we couldn't meet in person, but talking about issues till we get on the ground once again.
I would like to add here something. Actually, getting an idea to motivation and all is fine. Like, you need motivation to do something. But the foremost thing is you should start. If you start something, then you need to keep motivated to keep doing it. So what people can actually learn is to start doing things on their level. So when you start talking, then only you can shape a party. So first talk, and when you start doing on your level, then only you can inspire other people to do same. So like, if you want to be in a democratic country, you have to make yourself a part of democracy. Government is not going to come to you and ask you your opinion. You yourself have to make you a part. So that's what people should start doing, and that's what people should also learn from this initiative, that you should at least start bringing the points that you think need to be addressed, even by the government, or even on the local level, or even on the community level. So first, whatever you think, you should put it forth, and you should start talking about it, and you should also involve people. Try to involve people in your particular perspective, and also get to know about their perspective, and that's how you can make a place a better. So that's what I think people should also start, and we already are doing it.
No, and I think from what from the initiatives you're doing and everything else, I think you guys are, definitely upholding that thought, and for, I think, here in the U.S. too, both India and the U.S. were both democratic countries. I mean, if to be in a functioning democracy and to address problems, one, you have to vote, you have to educate yourself, you have to keep up to date on what's going on, you have to make your feelings and thoughts known, and you have to address issues as they come up, like write your congressman, write your senator, write the city about anything, and not even to complain anything, just to make your voice known, because that is your right as a citizen in the country. And on a personal level, the more you talk, the more you can influence others, but you have to start to do it, because I think with anything, starting something is always the hardest. Once you start, you realize, oh, this is not too difficult, and it kind of is like a snowball effect from there. It builds and builds, and then you bring more people on board as you've all done, or you find more resources, etc. All those things can exemplify or exponentially grow what you're planning to do, both either on a personal level or on a different level. And Chandan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, John. Actually, you rightly said. And the biggest learning from the I Can Govern is it is better to do something than nothing. And believe me, we have a different kind of people from the different sectors, and they are doing something. Rather, earlier there are lots of problems there are lots of needs, there are lots of hopes, aspirations, and when there is organization name comes, people should think that there is some kind of motive behind that, and what kind of motive I do have, personally individuals, so that they connect to any kind of problem. So I Can Govern give everyone hope it is better to do something rather than nothing.
In a nutshell, right there. Better to do nothing. Better to do something than nothing. I think that's across the board.
There's a song that I used to sing often, and when I was once contemplating on what we are doing, that song came to my mind in terms of what I Can Govern is doing. See, like you post a podcast every Thursday or Friday. Here, Tilakji leads a conversation that affects a big majority of people in terms of the quality of life every few weeks. And when I was thinking about it, this song came to me. I want to sing two lines of this. This is in local language. Maybe your US listeners will not make much sense of this.
Well, no, they'd still find it interesting, I'm sure. It's not every day they'd hear it in their language, especially in this part of the United States.
हो गई है पीड़ पर्वत सी पिघलनी चाहिए हो गई है पीड़ पर्वत सी पिघलनी चाहिए इस हिमालय से कोई गंगा निकलनी चाहिए इस हिमालय से कोई गंगा निकलनी चाहिए सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं मेरी कोशिश है कि ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए. That was just a few words to say what we are actually trying to do.
Well, I'll say I couldn't understand it, but it has a very nice tone to it for sure. And if you want, I can post the translation in the description for everyone who wants to look.
Sure. We will send you a translation of this, what this actually means.
That's great. Yeah, I think the one thing that I'm getting a sense of that I can really relate to what you guys are doing and what you're hoping people to learn is because this podcast is a platform just to allow people to expand what they have access to and just to meet different people. And I think as Tilak and you guys find the human element in anyone you can talk to, because if you're from a certain area, you're limited physically who you meet, where you can go, financially, economically, all these factors apply. But, and going back to what COVID has done, it's allowed, and with social media and, technology, we have the ability to get beyond that. But even with that, it's knowing where to go. And the more organizations we have like this, I think the more social media and people who are making an effort to share and export different things for consumption globally, that's going to be good. But at the same time, as we've also touched upon, there's also a lot of negatives or initiatives that have agendas or they're trying to push a narrative. And that kind of goes into the political, social, and economic realms. And that's, we can see that now in today's news, because I think with news these days, you can't just watch one news source. You have to look at a number of ones because everyone is going to have an inherent bias and they're going to have their own point of view. So, I watch American, British, Indian, Australian, other countries' news just because, and I'll look at one topic and I'll see what the main point is, and you can see where the different biases and points of view on, so you can kind of come to a middle ground. And I think that's the same with things we're doing. We're not trying to, make a point. We're just trying to show things as they are and find solutions and promote things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the time that we're living in, we may focus on the negatives, that there are wars and all sorts of things.
Well, as they say, negative headlines sell.
Yeah. But the another side of it is that this is the generation which is more educated than ever before, more conscious about themselves and the situation around than ever before. So I think this is a huge opportunity. And I believe that our generation world over has a responsibility to realize the potential that they have. 100 years ago, there was no social media. Still, there was Gandhi. There was no internet. Still, there were great leaders. And I think in US as well, you have this Abraham Lincoln. I think I keep telling people, that, well, if you will have 3 bad leaders in your country, or maybe 4 bad leaders in a country, you'll forget that if there would ever used to be a president like Abraham Lincoln and Nehru for that matter. You'll forget, because you get inspired from people around you. If you see everyone is stooping lower than everybody else, well, that's the worldview that we will form. So I think this is our responsibility as well, to become role models, and to our children, to our friends, to our family, to people whom we love, people whom we adore. And for that matter, I believe that we should just be willing to connect with anyone for meaningful purposes. So I think these are the small things, and sometimes there are so many things which keeps happening around, that you also realize that people can focus on all these things. But if you realize this is the way forward.
No,
I would like to say that you are doing a great job by bridging people. Like, you are becoming the connection with which one candle can reach the other candle. Like you said, you're helping people reach out to bigger set of people, like bigger audiences, and that helps human consciousness connecting to other units of consciousness. It's like the Tilak was saying, like, why, or like Martin Luther King used to say in one of his speeches, I heard, only love wins. No matter how much hatred goes on, eventually the word only is very important in what he said. Only love wins. So why to blame all the bad that's going on? Why not find that little small thing that we can do? And you, in what you're doing, are connecting those people who are doing those good things around their locality, in their life, in their abilities. Thank you, Sean.
No, I really appreciate that, and it's meeting groups of people like you all. These are things that just encourage me and motivate to do more. It just builds up my intent and desire to do more of this, because you don't only connect people, but you learn a lot. And
I think I'd just like to add to Mr. Amrenji, is that this is something which is a global message which has been told in every society time and again. I think we had one very famous poet called Kabir. His very most famous couplets possibly are that Poti padi padi jag muwa pandit bhaya na koi, dhai aakhar prem ka padhe so pandit ho, which essentially means is that people have read all sorts of philosophies and books and written texts and all these things, and they died. They really didn't make any change to anybody's life. But what actually makes you connect with others and influence their lives is these 2.5 letters, which in essentially is prem, which basically becomes a small word, love. So I think that is what should connect.
No, well said. And one
John,
thought.
Yeah, I want to summarize what they all said in few points. Like, first of all, I will thank Dr. Amrendra for singing that very beautiful poetry. And actually, he was the most revolutionary poets of our times at the time of independence. Chandan Kumar, his name is. So he was reciting his poetry, and I too write poetry, and I am fond of him. So I keep his books of poetry as well. And that summarize what Amrendra said. It summarized as, oh brother, don't fight, don't quarrel over things, don't create problems, and don't count on problems, rather than be the change. So the couplet he was singing was like the be the change. And as learning is a continuous process, it never stops. At the time of your deathbed, you will learn something, what I believe. And we learn every day from every individuals. We can learn from a child, we can learn from a philosopher, we can learn from everyone. And we learn from someone to not be like them, and we learn from someone to be like them or to act accordingly. And then we judge in our mind, okay, so this is right or this is wrong, or this is what I should do or not. So what I learned and what people will learn from this I Can Govern initiative is, first of all, don't quarrel and don't fight over problems. Give solutions, be the change, rather than you want the change, but you don't want to be the change. And the change will come when you will be the change. Like, a revolution can start from a single person. In India, we call Mahatma Gandhi. Why? He was Mahatma. He was the change, which followed with a mass movement and then the freedom of a struggle. Abraham Lincoln, US, he was the change. And it evolved and it changed the life of the person. Second point was, we discuss over the problems which are neglected by the mass. but it exists. It's a ghost which is haunting people, but they are not talking about it. Like in this lockdown, when everything was shut close, educational institutions were levying a huge amount of fees from every students, and those who were severely affected by COVID and those whose parents were died, nobody were talking about them, that how they are going to uh, give that a large amount to these institutions, and we were talking about them. So these small points, like what we do and what we believe we can do, we should learn from this, and everyone should learn from this. And the final comment I will make is, we don't believe like, so this is a community, like a lawyer has their community, a professor has their community, a bureaucrats have their communities. We have every single person from every sort of life, from each and every professions. We have lawyers, we have policymakers, we have bureaucrats, we have teachers, we have professors, we have entrepreneurs, and we are collectively doing something, and it can happen. Something can happen at least. And when at night I go to sleep, I sleep in peace, that I am doing something. And yes, I am doing at least something. I'm not just sitting and watching TV and saying that, okay, why this, why that, why those, but I am rather believing that there should be a solution, and we will work for that solution.
No, well said. And I think, when it comes to learning, and being the solution, not just complaining about something, because, a lot of people around, a lot of people I think around us complain about something. Well, how about you stop complaining and maybe think of a solution? It's not just complain. That's going to solve absolutely nothing and just kind of make people upset and annoyed. Let's look toward a solution. And I think in terms of creating new solutions, I think one thing that I've found has worked very well for myself is having more of an eclectic mindset in taking anything that's good or that works. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care who really has done it. But if it works, it's positive, it's beneficial, it helps me, it helps others, and it solves problems, what's wrong with it? So, and I think the best way to do that is by meeting people from different places, traveling, learning new things, and you can kind of build a tapestry of different ideas and skill sets that can benefit you and others. You don't just be constricted by people around you, what they do, so at the end of the day, it's like, if it works, use it. And that's been a very key element in both civilizations and people who have been successful. They take what works and they apply it.
That's the truth.
And then, kind of to wrapping up, for our discussion, I have kind of two final questions that kind of blend together. The first is, we've touched on this as well, and maybe you guys don't even know the answer to this yet, but what would you say is, or what are your long-term goals? It could be very, aggressive or outgoing, or it could be just more, simple. But either would, would be interesting to hear, your perspectives on it.
So Sean, what I think what would be our long-term goal? Building trust, right? We have to build trust with all. We have to accentuate the positive relation with all. Like I said, so that would be our long-term goal. And we will pick more blind spot, right? Whatever the topic we have not covered, whatever we can do, we can fly there and we can do that. So that is our long term.
Well, I think a couple of days ago we had a catch-up meeting to just prepare for this interaction, and a couple of very interesting points that came up is that we do not want to be very fundamentally very goal-oriented organization or initiative as such. What do you do after that goal is achieved? For that matter, I think we keep talking that, well, when we were a child, we wanted something to play. Maybe when we had it, we are done after it with it after some time. Then you wanted to be sort of a score 90%, class 10th, maybe that happened. Then maybe a job, that happened. Then maybe marriage and kids, that happened. What next? So I think I believe that human well-being is a kind of goal which will be a constant reinvention. It is the most fundamental aspiration of each of us. We want happiness. We want, and the only thing is that we need to expand that thing, that bubble of happiness. For whom? Happiness just for yourself, just for your family, also for your friends, maybe also for society, I think if we just go a bit, expand that barrier a bit front and go beyond our sense of limited identity, that will do. One more thing that I would like to add is we also believe that one very important objective that we should keep pursuing, and I think I told this point last time as well, that we should not give up on anyone. Absolutely no one. We should just not give up on any single person, any single being for that, but anything that supports life. And not just that. We should not give up on ourselves either. I think that is true even in our life otherwise. Whatever you do, whatever you pick up, if you just persist with it for a certain period of time, with certain effort, depending upon your capacities and energies and situations, things happen and things will happen. So we just do not want to give up on anyone. And I think if we continue to do that with this sense of inclusiveness, I believe it will go a long journey. And that is possibly a journey which should continue, not at least for our lifetimes. All right.
So you could say maybe not just a specific goal, but a perpetuating goal that keeps building and adapting.
Yeah, the needs also keep changing. I think if you ask our forefathers, their needs were very, very different. So if you would have set a goal at that point of time, that what would be the well-being goal, maybe in 30 years, that would have been very, very different than what we want today. I think earlier we were so determined about identities. Somebody wanted to create nations based on religion, on race, on caste, and all these things. Well, where are we? We are ultimately going towards a goal where we realize at the very fundamental, we are all one. At the end of the day, we are all one. That is the only thing. That is the truth. The rest of it is just mirage. You better come out of it. And I think the most important part, we all should realize that if you come out of this limited perspective when you are 16, that's great. If you realize it at 60, well, that is only that much you can do after that. So you better realize it when you are 16 or when you are 20, because then you'll have 40, 50, 60 years to just realize that thing. So this is a call to the young generation, especially younger people. And we should not discount anyone, especially youngsters. We should have faith in them, in their abilities. And they are the people who will actually make all sorts of change that we want, because we are already through half our life, aren't we? I think at least I am.
Well, as they say, children are untainted in a way. They're not corrupted.
All right. By the way, I think among us, Nikita happens to be possibly the youngest. So maybe she should say something.
Actually, I have some goals personally along with this initiative. So I would like, I have personally felt that there are people, so everyone will get to know about things that they need and that are their rights only if they have that sort of education and they have that sort of awareness. So in my area where I live, I would like to work on education sector, under the umbrella of ICANGOVERN, I would say. Because I never thought this, but right now I have this thought in my mind that I always wanted to work in the education sector. I always wanted to teach those kids who are on the road, who do not have any kind of support. But I don't trust anyone. So I actually have this problem that I personally want to do it. So I personally want to go there and teach them and provide them a quality education, and don't want to depend on any particular institution or a school. But they need that recognition from the school. So I would like to work on the education sector under the umbrella of ICANGOVERN, so that I can create those minds who can be aware, who can create awareness and who can contribute something to the society. Because it's not always that the great minds come from the good community of people or the people who have everything. It's always someone who has a lot of experience. And when knowledge will be mixed with that experience, I think it can lead to a great future and it can lead to a great society. So I would really want to work on it in the coming days.
You bring up a good point in that each of you you have careers, you have your jobs you're doing outside of this initiative, and that's something that maybe this experience, like my podcast with me, each of this can influence maybe additional areas of emphasis within ICANGOVERN. Education for you or whatever, for all of you, maybe you all can add your own flavor to it a way and export the ideas, concepts, and goals into your own line of work or your area of emphasis.
Yeah, because I guess education is like one way where we can like tell people like what is important. So right now, Tilakji said that we have created some barriers around us, like religion, identity, caste, gender. So when you learn, when you try to acquire knowledge, kind of you sort of break those boundaries. So I really want people to break those boundaries, because it's really difficult for the people like who are living in the villages. It's really difficult to like kind of break that, to like kind of break, take out from that bubble. So I really want people to learn and educate in themselves so that they know what is the real thing. Why are we actually existing on this planet? What is the real requirement? So I guess that can bring that awareness that we are.
No, I completely agree, and that's education, as they say, knowledge is power. Any other thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I would like to quote something from Spider-Man movie. Peter Parker's uncle is saying Peter Parker that with great power comes great responsibility, and ICANGOVERN want to be responsible. We want to bear that responsibility, and rather than having long-term goals, we have our short-term goals. And it is said that there is no wrong time to do right thing. If the things are right, it's right. So you can start from anywhere, from scratch. This organization was started from scratch, and now you can see we are here. And
for that matter, whenever you start, it's always a zero.
Right,
for you.
Right. And zero multiplied into something.
Yes.
Mathematically, it is wrong that zero multiplies something gives zero, but zero multiplies something here giving something. So
well, that also means you should just try to add gradually rather than multiply too fast.
right. And okay, so few more points that I would like to add few more things. Like, see, what in our hand is to do at least something, to work. And in Bhagavad Gita, that is a very sacred book of Hindus, and I think everyone should learn that, read that. It is said that you should believe in your duty and your working rather than you should think about the results. Because if you will give 100%, or if you will at least are honest with your work, it will lead you to somewhere. So just don't bother about what the result will come, or if it will come or not. Just bother about if you are doing or not, if you are doing the right thing or not. And what we said, everyone said that being motivated every time is very important. And to achieve that, we should keep in our mind that yes, I am doing the right thing.
Well, I think if such a thing comes at the level of your experience rather than knowledge alone, that is a really great. I would just like to want to add what Nikita just said, and I think this is true for even otherwise, is that anything, education or whatever you take up, you put in certain effort for a long period of time, then it can do wonders. So I think this is what we also need to realize, that well, if you stand at that part of your age, of course things will depend also upon your energy and your situation and so many other factors. But in general, I think this is always true, that you put in effort. So we should never lose faith that, well, we can do it or not do it. Just to start somewhere. Something good will happen.
We shall overcome someday.
There you have it.
Yeah. Goals, I think, are talking of goals. I think they are quite aspirational. They are not meant to be accomplished. You can learn it from governments who come up with welfare schemes. You can learn it from the UN itself, which changes its course every 15 years. I think alignment to your goals, the very belief in what your goal constitutes, So going forward, I think what would be the long-term goal as of now that I see for ICANGOVERN is that we have certain local chapters. That particular region has districts, what you would call counties in the US. So we need to establish and strengthen those local chapters. We need more people on ground to reach out to anyone who approaches us with a local governance issue, with an issue here and an issue there or in their area. We need to build capacities at the local level. And I think going forward, we also would look forward to formalizing structures that I can govern. We, as of now, do not have formal structures, but we are an idea, and I think we'll prosper. So ideas prosper, organizations need structures. So going forward, we'll look forward to that as well. These are my thoughts.
Finding the right balance is always the most important thing. Having the vision, the motivation, and then just naturally just the practical and necessary infrastructure, whether it be the people or just whatever, is all those things combined to be to turn into success. Any other thoughts about goals or aspirations?
Well, I think I would just like to add one more thing that also we discussed a few days back. I believe that is important, is that when it comes to leadership, developing leadership, we often realize that it has to be some sort of a hierarchy sort of thing. I don't think leadership needs a hierarchy all the time. Hierarchy is not leadership, for that matter. Hierarchy is hierarchy. So even in democracy, often we practice feudalism in the name of democracy, or racism in the name of democracy, you name it, all sorts of things. So leadership, for that matter, I keep giving the example of, the banyan tree. So if you see a very old banyan tree, it's like you don't know. I think I saw one banyan tree years ago, which was like 800, 1,000 years old. You don't know where it begins, where it ends. It's almost a jungle on its own. So it has 1,000 roots, maybe. It's so huge that you don't know, I think, where it begins. So I think going forward, we should all imagine that thing, that it is not an idea which begins from one person, and one person should be the fountainhead of it. It's about all of us being fountainhead of whatever idea we have. We all are full of ideas. We are all full of creativity. We just need to put those things in practice, work together, because that will be important. Then only you can provide shade like a big banyan tree. Otherwise, you will be standing alone and maybe blown by a wind. No banyan tree, 1,000 years old, can be blown by any wind, for that matter. We just need to be something like that.
Time, persistence, growth equals stability. Yeah. Very good. Yes, Jack.
Yeah. Don't be chauvinist. Be rational.
No, all very well said. And, I think you guys have a very, fluid, but, constructive and, concrete, I think set of goals or continuous goals for the organization. And I'm sure you guys will be successful. And I think in many cases, it may ebb and flow and change directions as with things as they develop over the next, years or decades. So, and I think that's how it should be. Flexibility and adaptability are very important. So very good. And then, so the last part of our discussion for this episode is, your organization is based in India, and you're focusing mainly within India and more at the ground level grassroots, as we've mentioned again and again. But the last thing I want to emphasize: what would you like people outside of India to learn from ICANGOVERN? From listening to everyone talk, I'm learning a lot about maybe just things that go on in India, more of the ground level, so I'm learning a lot about that. But as a outside viewer or listener, what do you want to impart onto them in a way?
And it's not about the country India or outside. It's just about the manifestation of what a human being can do. Mm-hmm. The complete exuberance that a human potential can reach. We want that to happen, and it just so happens that we are in India and we are working in the domain of India. But there's no particular thing. If we were to think that this is the message the other people, the other nation should have, that would be like thinking as if we are not that. That's not the space from where we are coming. It's just the manifestation of humanness everywhere.
And well, maybe in one way you're saying just one perspective or one way of doing things in a way.
Yeah, like Tilak was once saying in a few minutes ago that we are all one. We are getting there. Once Shankaracharya, a guru here, was asked to summarize all the knowledge he has given, and he said, "Eko ham dvitiyo nasti." There's only one. There's no other. So even India or other country, it's just a matter of definitions, geography. Uh, the birds don't care, flowers don't care, wind doesn't care, and we don't care. If if slowly I can govern expands into other nations, it will be the same idea of bringing together human beings with a child's instinct. Just no philosophy is needed. A child feels bonded with the other child, no matter, I mean, even if he does not understand the language of this other person, isn't it?
Well, I think we can all agree
This
that
was my
you
perspective.
bring kids together, regardless where they're from, they're all going to start playing sooner or later.
Yeah, I would just like to add to the effusiveness. I think Aminanji, you want to say something? Well, I would just like to add to the kind of wonder and the child's wonder that Aminanji has put it, is that I think if you just for that matter, if you just see literally, India itself is not just one country. We are bigger than all the Europe united together, and maybe several times that in terms of population. So I think India itself is a huge country, which has so many so different kinds of people. We have united over a period of time. It's a journey, by the way, luckily. So that is a great thing. But I think the one country that we adhere to is humanity. Humanity is the greatest country. So I think that is where we need to sort of go forward. And one last thing that I believe that I would like to say for everywhere, I think this is not just true for India, that often young people, and I get inspired by people like young people when they do great things, because I believe that they have the real potential to make things happen, is that we should get out of this mindset that young people should be angry and they should be angry young men. I think this was almost a generation in India as well, that we had angry young men. And you know what this angry young men ended up doing? They get into drugs, they get into all sorts of things. You name it. If you are too angry, well, I think that is, and you have too much of energy, well, that doesn't sound like a great combination. So we need to inspire a generation of calm young men who can think great and plan for great things, believe in working together, just try to take everybody along. So if this is something that a message that which goes across the world, across the seas, across the oceans, that's where we can be together. If we are angry, we cannot work together. We need to be calm. We need to settle down. We need to realize the potential and the opportunity that we can have. That will.
I think what can be learned from this particular initiative is the thing that concerted efforts are more effective, and that people who have come together for a purpose, people who still are not uprooted, are still related to their roots. Talking of banyan trees and all that, you want to see your area, your neighborhood, your city grow. So I think uh, of the very possibility of it being an initiative which focuses on a particular area makes it very effective. I have seen that if it's at the national level or any higher level than the local level, if it's at the policy level or the schematic structures at the national level, they are indicative, but the real work, as we all know, happens on ground. And if we are able to bring changes on the ground, then we have done our job. So that, I think, is the most important thing. Decentralization is always better than centralization. Talking of humanity and all that, is absolutely great. We always look out for aspirations in people who have a certain level of reached a certain level of consciousness. But if we want changes, then we have to uh, do it on the ground. Mahatma Gandhi himself taught that there is an ideology, but if you have to do a certain job, then you have to be on ground. There is an ideology of ahimsa, non-violence, and truth, but to demonstrate it, you cannot simply write those things in books. You have to demonstrate it. The way he started his satyagraha in Bihar itself shows that he came from a different land. Talking of humanity, we see that he came from a different land, a different place in India, which is on the extreme west side of India, and then he came to the eastern India. So humanity is there, but the demonstration of humanity is equally important.
I would
So
like
I
to
think
add one thing to what Aradev has just said about local governance, is that what we essentially need to do is that bring global consciousness to solve local issues. You have a global mind, but you solve local, focus on local issues. That is where the real global solutions will ultimately come in. So it's a cycle which should start from a drop. It's like the ocean to drop journey sort of thing. A drop starts a journey in the form of a vapor, and then it goes back to the ocean. That kind of example we can see. One more thing about local governance and all this thing is that our name is Indian Citizens Alliance for New Governance. Now, what is essentially new governance, or governance as we see and we should see, I believe, is that governance, as I also once pointed out, it's not just about building roads or putting in water and all these things. What essentially is that how much do you cooperate to reach those solutions? It should not be a top-down approach. It should be a bottom-up approach. I think the bureaucrats, those who will be listening to us, it is far more productive for the people's representatives in particular, and the bureaucracy in particular, police for that matter. We have everything. Everywhere we have such institutions in place. Is that they should realize that they are there, their job is not to enforce law and order or build a road and all these things. Their job is to bring everybody along on that idea. And if that sense of cooperation can come in our bureaucracy, in our legal system, in our police, security personnel, in our policy makers, that would be the real change. That would be the real change that new governance should actually adopt it.
Yeah, and kind of phrasing the question, I completely agree. It's a universal concept that is applicable anywhere. And I think what maybe our listeners can maybe gain more is more like the cultural and more on the ground aspects of what's going on in India, like quoting Gandhi and all these people. Maybe people from places don't know that much. It's a different perspective, and also just how things are done. Public administration, for example, it's everywhere, but it may have different facets and elements to it from place to place. So I think on more of a practical and maybe more like concrete perspective, in a way, people can learn more about how things are done in India versus the United States or versus other countries. So I think that your organization can maybe, in delving into a lot of these issues, people can gain an insight of what it's like in India, and how much it compares or contrasts to what the same corresponding element would be in their country. But the message, as you've reinforced again and again, is it's a universal thing. Governance is something that there's a physical and on the ground aspects, but it's more of a mentality and state of mind that should be continuously improved.
And then ultimately things come back. If you are just ignoring somebody just because you're capable and powerful today, well, things will come back to you. Whether you
the old saying, what comes around, what goes around comes around.
Yes, it does. This is ultimately, we had caste system in India, there are gender differences. You do things and then it will come back to you. That is how it should be. I think if you just do something wrong, it will come back ultimately. So the real long term is that. I think for 3-4 generations maybe.
Any other thoughts before we conclude?
I think a lot has been said already.
For sure. Indeed. But a lot of good things.
Enough editing task for the next 4 days. It's
right.
supposed to be an hour long.
It will be a lot of editing for you.
It was really good talking to you.
No worries. I've gotten pretty good at it, and I have some editing software that makes it a lot easier. So it's still time consuming, but not too bad. But no, for sure, I really enjoyed talking to everyone and going back into code. So I'll say this,
So before you go, just one thing I want to add. I I have discussed it with my fellow members as well. Like what I believe and what I think, the conclusion I'm giving, that after reading few books, like recently I was reading *Sapiens* from Yuval Noah Harari, the *Sapiens*, the brief history of humankind, and all those books. So there, I saw that the human race or the sapiens are the most selfish organism of this planet, and that hit me hard. We are, because it has been elaborated very greatly there. So I am learning to be a little selfless, uh, to not be that selfish, and that's
So
the
you
biggest
just have to be selfish
aspiration.
enough, but make more people include in that selfishness. Include everybody and entire humanity in that your selfishness.
Right. So this is the thing.
Keep
No,
sharing stories.
Over to you.
No, I think it's important. We all have to be selfish to an extent for preservation and, to take care of ourselves. But yes, a lot of people have taken it way too far, and they're completely obsessed with themselves, and only the world revolves around them. I see this all the time here. I've seen it in a lot of places I've traveled. It's an unfortunate thing that's been with us a long time, but I think a lot of it has amplified in recent times.
Keep sharing stories, Sean. The story of Mr. Amren Narayan here, the story of Dr. Tilak, the story of Son Sevasan is, more effective than anything else,
Well, I think that kind of goes back to the point that as humans, we can always connect to stories. Just like one of my favorite, play on words, history, his story, or her story, her story. We all can connect to stories. And the teachers who I've enjoyed the most, professors, have brought the human element into the discussion, no matter what topic or subject they were covering.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, so much for making this conversation happen. We're absolutely privileged to sort of talk to you and possibly have many more such conversations with many more people. The stories coming from America as well. So look forward. I think we already gave you the invitation on the last show that you were there. But well, why don't you take this journey to America maybe? So we'll be waiting to hear about it. Thank you so much.
Well, again, thank you all for everything, the insight, the points of view, and everything. So, like I said, we'll definitely have to schedule another episode to cover more topics. And again, I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I've had a really nice time talking to you. I've learned a lot. So for everyone listening, this has been another episode of International Immersion. We will see you on the next one. Please check us out on social media. You can go to our Facebook page, International Immersion, also our Instagram page of the same name, or you can also send us an email at internationalimmersionpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to know your thoughts, ideas, perspectives, and we're always looking for more content to cover. Please also check out ICANGOVERN, as they are on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. They have some great content. I think you can learn a lot about their initiatives and things that they're doing as well. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone in India and other countries affected by COVID. I'm just waiting for the pandemic to pass so we can get back out there, travel, and continue to learn about the world uninterrupted.